Let's do some definitions first, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. When we say NFTs, I always complain that the acronym NFT is such a terrible acronym because when you explain to someone what the letters mean, they actually become more confused instead of less confused. Because words like non-fungible, these are not words that are common in the human vocabulary. We don't say like, you're a non-fungible person. Walang ganun, no? We don't use words like that. So the thing that I like to highlight is the word token. Token is a little bit more familiar to us. We know what arcade tokens are. Assuming that you were born in the 80s and 90s, I assume that you probably went into at least one video arcade where you exchange your money for tokens. Those tokens symbolize something else. Same thing here. The token in NFT symbolizes a digital certificate of ownership in something. Does not need to be artwork, does not need to be cards, but for now, that is kind of what it is mostly associated with. But you can use NFTs or these tokens to symbolize ownership in real estate or your ownership, for example, in your Globe Platinum subscription plan. Pwede rin yun theoretically. Because the token can actually mean anything. It's up to the creator of the token to define what it means. And that's kind of all there is to it. It's just, we kind of get tripped up lang kasi because of the non-fungible part. But really, it's the token part of this acronym that really matters. Now, okay, so that's what it says down there. It allows a buyer to prove that they are the true owner of that particular thing. In this case, it's artwork. And then, even if the public can view that artwork, the only person who can prove that they are the owner is the one who is holding what? The receipt. Yung resibo nung binili nila, which in this case is the NFT. So that's it. That's what an NFT actually is. There are a couple of other interesting things about NFTs that are very relevant to artists. The first is the ability to track provenance. And if you don't know what the word provenance means, that's basically a fancy art word for history. So what do I mean by that? If I create an NFT of any of the work that I drew or illustrated or painted, the history of the transaction is stored on the blockchain forever. So it will store the fact that this artwork was created by Luis, it was bought by someone, and maybe that person sold it to someone else. Now, in the traditional art world, provenance is very difficult to trace because when an artwork changes hands over the years, over the decades, or over the centuries, we often lose track of who the original owners were. We often lose track of how much the original owners paid for that painting or that artwork. The provenance is tracked for free. So we get that for absolutely free. It just happens automatically. And for as long as the Ethereum blockchain is up and running, every single work that I have that is recorded on the blockchain, we will have perfect provenance forever, right? We'll know who the buyers have been, who the sellers have been, how much each person bought and sold it for. So that's great. That's a wonderful kind of way to make sure that you understand the true value or the true journey that an artwork has taken over the years. The second thing that is kind of also very unique to NFTs is the ability to pay out royalties to the artist. Now, this was an interesting concept now because we have royalties naman in the regular traditional world. When an artist sells something, and that artwork gets sold to someone else, usually there's some kind of kickback or commission to the artist. In NFTs, kasi this happens kind of for free also. So for example, if I am an artist and I decided that I wanted to receive 1% of royalties for all of my work, what will happen is, even if that work gets exchanged or sold to someone else, no matter how many times it gets sold, every time it gets sold, I get a little bit back. Just 1%. Or any percent. It really depends on the artist, what the percent is. It can also be zero. Some artists choose to not collect royalties on their work. But if you are an artist and your work is being heavily traded by people that like your stuff, you will definitely like the idea of receiving royalties because it means that you will always have this kind of steady flow of income, even if you are not necessarily creating new work anymore. No? So that's kind of nice. No? It gives you some breathing room. Even if it's not a lot, it's something. So it allows your career to be a little bit more sustainable. This royalties thing is going to become relevant in the next part. So just make sure that you keep that in mind.